tall, light-skinned brother with dimples, wearing a black Kangol sweatsuit, gold chain, and sneakers. Last seen on Farmers Boulevard heading east. Hell yes, hello, Cool J. He's bad.
Now you have a movie that's coming out called Carter High. How did that movie get started?
Well, me and Greg Ellis got together. He wanted to do a project together. We tossed around some ideas. And Greg mainly said, Arthur, if we're going to do something, let's do something that we really believe that we can win with. And we decided, he heard about Carter High, and he heard that I had a screenplay entitled Carter High. So I think Greg went and did some of his research, found out how compelling the story was.
Yeah.
And decided, let's do Carter. And I was like, Greg, now Carter is not like a small little film. It's a period piece. It takes place in 1988. And to me, that's always one of the hardest projects to do, especially in 2015 on a small budget.
Yeah.
But he said, let's do it. And we set out and got it done.
Now you have some heavy hitters in this movie like Charles Dunton, Vivica A. Fox, Poochie Hall, David Banner. How did you get those actors and actresses to be in the movie?
Well, we sent the script out and to several people. Greg Ellis was always on Charles Dutton. He always felt like he was the perfect person for the coach. And he decided, so we reached out to his agent. Charles Dutton read the script, loved it, and wanted to do it. Vivica Fox was someone that we hadn't thought about at the time, but after she got the script, she was interested. And along with Pooch Hall, I had a friend that introduced me to him while he was here one day, and I gave him the script, and Pooch was he was on it from day one, and he really wanted to do it. And then we had some local talent that we wanted to use, and we did. And my wife, she helped cast the film.
Really?
And so she found some very good local talent, and we put it all together. So they meshed real good with the so-called heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And it was a good project. They blend right in and did their thing.
I like that. Now, you went to Carter High School during that time, right?
That is correct.
And you played football.
That is correct.
How did that impact the team when you guys found out about, the scandal and then them ripping, your eligibility? How did you guys feel at that time?
Well, actually, they didn't take the title till like 1991. Excuse me, till like 1991. But at that time, everybody knew who the real state champion was.
Yeah.
Like, you could take the trophy, but everybody knows. Even the team they gave it to didn't want it.
Wow.
Like, we don't want this. We know who won that game.
That's very noble.
Right. So that basically how it impacted us, and the turmoil during the season was what I would say was more impactful, because to be 16, 17 years old, going through that, just in the playoffs, then they kick us out the playoffs, and then our parents filed an injunction, and we back in the playoffs, and then we out the playoffs again, and then we back in the playoffs. It's like just that roller coaster was what was very impactful for us.
Yeah.
And almost at a certain point, you become numb to it, whether or not, if we're going to play or if we're not going to play. But eventually, of course, we were allowed to play and win state.
Look at that. Do you think that kind of sort of hurt Carter's reputation? with after that scandal, or do you think you guys just like, oh, blah 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 blah? Anyway, we still hot. We still like one of the baddest football teams in D-Time.
For myself, I don't feel like it hurt it. I think, we went through a certain obstacles, and we overcome
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Of course, they came back later on and took the title, but I think if the DISD would have continued to fight, we probably would have won. But I think at the time when they finally declared that we was ineligible was about the same time that some of the guys was getting in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
So what does it look like with DISD really defending us at that time, or Carter High School at that time,
Yeah.
for this title, when some of the guys also just got in trouble for some crimes.
Yeah.
So I think that was more or less like, let's just get away from this as much as we possibly can and move on to the next season, so to speak. Try to get it behind DISD. So at the end of the day, everybody knows what happened that particular year.
Yeah.
And who won. And actually, Carter still considered that particular team one of the best high school football teams ever.
Now, with the movie, was any of the players that were on the team during that time, did they have any involvement in the film?
Oh yes, they had some involvement. Some came out to the set. Some of the guys, actually, the talent, the actors, was able to meet who they was playing and help give them some insight on their character. So that was great. Coach James also came out and met and talked with Charles Dutton.
Yeah.
That was great. Also, several players came to the shoot, and it was great. And I tell everybody that those are the real stars.
Yeah.
The guys that's being portrayed, the team, the school, that's the real superstars of this particular movie, in my opinion. Because to have 16, 17-year-olds to go through that, and not just that season, but even the ones that got involved in criminal activity.
Yeah.
And not because they needed to, not because they needed to rob, it was just something to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like started off as a prank almost. But to go through that and to bounce back, that is the story.
Yeah.
Because all these guys are out and all of them are doing well.
Yeah.
So, anybody can get in trouble. A lot of people get in trouble and stay in trouble, but very few get in trouble, stay out of trouble, and do better in their life.
Right.
And they're doing that right now. And that's a great thing. And not one of them or two of them, but all of them. So to have several people on one team to get in trouble, but then all of them get out and all of them doing well, that says that there's a championship kind of spirit amongst that particular team. So that's the story that's really going to be told after the movie.
Yeah. So when the people from the team, when they found out you were making the movie, how did they feel about it? Were they like, ooh, I don't want you to put all my stuff out there? Or were they like, you know what? Do the movie so they can hear my story and see how, I was young and I was foolish, but I grew up to be a strong man who lived out my potential?
I think maybe a little bit of both. For the most part, more on the let's do this story and let's do it right. Because Friday Night Lights came out, and that was a particular film that portrayed Carter High School, and you see how they did it. So I feel like our portrayal of Carter High in that time period is more true to the fact.
Yeah.
And even though films are made to be entertaining, at the same time, when you put that stamp based on a true story, I think you should try to stay as true as you can. And this film, does that.
I'd say our discipline.
High school football is king.
What makes us so good?
Me.
But in 1988,
Carter has in fact been forced to forfeit their final 3 games due to an ineligible player.
You say it passed. His report card shows it passed. But the URL say it failed.
one team had to fight
These young boys should not be punished for some grown man mistakes.
just to step on the field.
My staff and I will fight as hard in the courtroom as those boys fight out on the field.
Welcome to Carter High.
What can people take away from the film?
I think ultimately what I would like for people to take away from the film is that destiny is not a matter of chance, but a matter of choice.
I love that. Look, ooh. So when is a film coming out?
God willing, we shooting for either September or November, and we found Greg have been doing a lot of research and found that most high school football films or football films in general are released either right before school starts or right after, or during November during that little holiday season. So,
Yeah.
God willing, either one of those months.
So how do you feel about the film?
Oh, I love it. And, the more right now we're in the post-production process, and the closer we get and the more we refine it and tighten it up, the better I feel about it.
So what made you want to get into filmmaking?
Wow. Well, I like we said earlier, I was I played on the team my junior year and senior year, but I ended up getting a scholarship my particular senior year, and I went to SMU, and that's where I really got more involved in filmmaking. But even before that, my first job, I was a doorman at Redbird Cinema 1 through 4, and I used to watch movies all the time. And forgive me, Spike Lee, but I watched Do the Right Thing like probably 50 times without paying. Because I was a doorman, so that's all I did. So even though I was fascinated with films and everything then, you never think, wow, I want to make movies.
Yeah.
That thought and process came along later down the line.
Wow, so your first film. So from your first film until Carter, how have you seen yourself grow?
That's like a lot. I mean, all of them are your babies.
Yeah.
But you have to grow. And
Yeah.
not just filmmaking, but anything.
Yeah.
You always want to find, how can I do this better? And how can I be the best that I can possibly be in my passion or my craft?
Yes.
So you constantly learning. You constantly learning from other people.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing for me about filmmaking. You never want to, I never go to the set, even though I may be the director, where I can't learn from an actor.
Yeah.
I can't learn from the DP or something like that. So I've grown, I think a lot from the first one to the point where, because of my first film, I had to shoot, direct, write, edit, produce. I even have to hold a boom mic like in some bushes just to get the sound sometimes. So, whatever you had to do to make that movie, that's what I would do. So going from that to where I'm at now, it's been a lot of growth.
Yeah. What would you tell your young filmmaker self? What advice would you give your young self?
Wow, my young self, patience.
Ooh, why do you say patience?
Because when you in the work, if God would have said back then, okay, now this is what you have to go through in order to make it to where you really want to go. If you'd have told me that and showed me that, I probably would have said, well, shoot, I'm gonna do something else. But you have to be patient, because even though, because I done several films, and I said, this film, this is going to be the one.
Yeah.
That finally kind of like propelled me and get me to where I really want to go.
Yes.
And after 1, then 2, then 3, even though they get distribution, they receive fairly well, by the public, it just never really propelled me to where I thought it should have, or what I was expecting.
Right.
So my expectancy mixed in with patience helped me really to make it to this point. And then I love making movies.
Yeah.
So even if I'm not directing a film, I may edit a film. I may direct, DP a film. Whatever I can do to help on a project, even if it's not my own, I'm there to assist and help.
Wow. So you have your production company, Sweet Chariot. How did they get started?
It got started actually once I started making movies.
Really?
Because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and really that came from, I would say, LaRone Armstrong. And I don't know if you ever heard of LaRone, but LaRone was the first person that I met in Dallas
Really?
that was actually making movies.
Ah.
And that is really what inspired me to want to have my own production company. So when I set out to start making movies, that never was a doubt that I wanted to have my own production company.
Where did the name come from?
Sweet Chariot, well, it's an old hymn.
Yeah, I know,
Low,
Sweet
Chariot.
Chariot.
Right. So I feel like my production company is going to take you places that you've never been before.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. I like that. So you said that the different films that you've made didn't really propel you to the next level. Do you believe Carter is that film? Carter High is that film to be like, who is Arthur Muhammad? I have to find out what this man is because I have to be in his next movie.
Right. I believe it. Just like I thought First Impression was Black Angels, which was initially Sweet Justice,
Right.
Solitaire. But yeah, I feel very, very good about Carter. And one thing I can say, even though the films didn't propel me to where I felt like I should have
Right.
been going, each one has been a stepping stone. So I'm very grateful and I appreciate everything that each film has really blessed me with.
What do you get your inspiration from when you write or when you produce or when you direct? What goes into you, somebody saying, hey, Muhammad, can you direct this? Have you just been like, I don't think I'll be able to, direct this or write this? What goes into you saying what you will do and what you will not film, write, or produce?
Really the images that's being portrayed, because images are very, very important. And I believe that if we're going to put images out there, even though if the image is so-called negative, let it be a lesson or something that the people can learn from it, even though, again, it's entertainment.
Yes.
So staying true to the image and making sure that the image is not only true, but it's portrayed in a way that once that person get up from that seat, they can feel like, wow, either I learned something to do or I learned something not to do.
Yeah.
And Carter is one of those films that you're going to learn what not to do.
Yeah. What is your inspiration? What inspires Mr. Muhammad?
Wow. I mean, it's a lot of things. My family, number one, inspires me. But, I could read, if specifically dealing with entertainment and filmmaking, I could read an article or see a news clipping or something on YouTube, and you say, what? Because for me, everything is a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be driving, I say, man, that's a movie. This is a movie. That's a movie.
Yeah.
I hear a song, that's a movie. You hear a verse from Tupac, you can take one line, that's a movie.
You
I
really
can read something out the Bible.
Yeah.
And man, you can take this scripture and make a movie, something out the Holy Quran.
Yes.
And I said, wow, somebody can make a movie on this. I saw Malcolm X and then recently Selma. And I said, man, why not do a movie, even though it wouldn't be true, but what if Malcolm and Martin Luther King was both still alive?
Yeah.
And they did come together.
Ooh.
What kind of movie would that be?
Ooh.
So everything, I mean, you holding this iPad, it's inspiration.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to keep it as steady as... Okay, so what are your top 5 movies you're digging right now?
Well, I just recently saw Birdman.
Was it good?
It was good. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was good. I saw Boyhood, which I don't think it was as good as Birdman, but to do a film, wow, that take 12 years.
Yeah.
See somebody just grow up like in front of their camera, it does something to you, even though nothing really happens in the movie. It's just the fact that you watch somebody grow up.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
That was so that's 2. Let me see. It's the third film. Ain't been too many good ones now. So but those 2, I thought Selma was good.
Yeah.
I have to get back with you now. That's 3.
With all the actors and actresses you've worked with, because you've worked with some.
Yes.
What advice have they given you, or what have you taken away from working with them?
To stay in my lane as a director, and when you cast someone, you have to trust them.
Yeah.
When you put someone in a certain position, trust that they're going to deliver what they're supposed to deliver. And a lot of times, matter of fact, I've heard Spike Lee say this, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, casting is 70 to 80% of my job as a director.
Yeah.
So once you put somebody in that place, in that position, it's like me going out and getting a Michael Jordan.
Oh.
You know, once I put Michael Jordan in that position, then I kind of like get out the way and let Michael do what Michael do.
Yeah.
So that's what I have, you know, you have to learn that. But at the same time, even though it's a Charles Dutton or a Vivica Fox, if it's not exactly right and it's not going with the vision,
Yeah.
you have to be able to say, well, you know, try it this way.
Yeah.
Or this is kind of like what I was looking at.
Now let me welcome everybody to the